It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we talk District 1 and 2 athletics week in, week out. My name is Brandon Baney. We're joined today by Ryan Scaggs, wearing his finest Boise State hoodie. Zip up? Not a zip up.
It's just a hoodie, like a long sleeve shirt. It's like probably one of my favorite shirts. It's super comfortable.
Looks good.
Thanks.
Yeah, Broncos are playing well in men's hoops, despite not having Marcus Shaver. So, yeah. Anyways,
but the Mountain West is looking pretty tough right now. So
pretty legit with New Mexico and young Patino coaching them.
And you got Nevada. You got a big win last night over them, and then obviously San Diego State still tough. So Mountain West is looking pretty good.
Yes. I hope Nevada crashes and burns. Not because I hate Nevada, but I hate Steve Alford with a passion. As a UCLA fan, to watch what Steve Alford did to that program and just run it into the ground. He can go burn for all I care. And so anyway,
but then you wouldn't have gotten what? Who do you have now? You don't have Ben Howland.
Mick Cronin.
Mick Cronin, that's right. Yeah, Howland was another name that. Yeah.
Yes. So anyways, I that's probably over exaggerating a little bit, but a little dark here, which matches the lighting on my camera. I promise you I'm in a well-lit area. I've got all my lights on. I don't know what the deal is with my camera, but it appears that I'm in a dark, shadowy area. But anyways, that's only for people that are watching on the YouTube channel. You can also get audio for this podcast at the IdahoSports.com website. Across the top of the homepage is a little drop-down menu that says Prepcast. Click on North Idaho Prepcast. You can listen there. You can also subscribe and download this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. So no time to waste. Let's get right into it. Let's talk some girls hoops. So again, for those that are watching the video version of this podcast on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to put the brackets up on the screen so you can follow along there if you're watching the video. Maybe make it full size. That way it's easier to see the brackets. If you're listening audio only, no worries. We have every single district bracket right at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. You can't miss it, and you can follow along there if you are listening. So let's start with Class 5A because this was action that happened last night. Congratulations to the Coeur d'Alene Vikings, Scaggs. They win District 1-2 in, honestly, dominating fashion.
Yeah.
They beat Lewiston in the first round game last Friday, 70-34. Last night, they beat Lake City in the championship, 56-35. And the Vikings, after missing out on state last year, are headed there in 2023.
Yeah, and they shot the lights out from 3-point last night, too. Coach Simmons' team is rolling. And I don't see that party stopping anytime soon. That lineup is just confident as all get out, and absolutely dismantling a really, really good Lake City team last night in the district championship game. Lake City now has the task of they have to take on Post Falls tomorrow, and then the winner of that gets to take on Eagle in the play-in game. But man, like Coeur d'Alene, if they're not your favorite for the state championship, I mean, it's going to be a great tournament. Let's be real. But Coeur d'Alene just looks absolutely like world beaters right now.
Yes. And on our website, IdahoSports.com, I do a daily bracketology update, teams that have clinched official bids, teams that we are projecting to advance the state. What would the matchups look like based upon the Max Preps rankings? You can lock it in. Coeur d'Alene will be the number 1 overall seed at the 5A state tournament starting next week. And there's a chance, Ryan, depending on what happens in this game between Lake City and Post Falls. Lake City did sweep the regular season series. And by the way, whoever wins between Lake City and Post Falls on Thursday night, I like them to advance past Eagle to get to state.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing is that currently Lake City is ranked 3rd. They would be the number 3 seed if they were to get to state. Thunder Ridge would be the number 2 seed. But Thunder Ridge just lost by 20 to Rigby last night in their district championship game. They got boat raced.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Thunder Ridge has to win a state play-in game against Mountain View. And if they, for some reason, failed to advance, this was the last undefeated team
It was Coeur d'Alene last year, essentially, is what we're looking at.
Yes. I mean, they were the last undefeated team in not just 5A hoops, but I'm pretty sure the entire state. And they have just, I don't know what's happened, but they've lost to Rigby twice now at districts. If they lose that play and
Like Melba's going to get mad at you about that one, but go ahead.
Oh, you're right. You're right. How could I forget Melba? Of course. But okay, so Thunder Ridge was definitely the last undefeated 5A team. If Thunder Ridge failed to advance to state for some reason and Lake City advanced, Timberwolves would jump up to the number 2 seed, and then you would have the 2 Coeur d'Alene schools on opposite sides of the bracket. Pretty interesting.
Well, and as it stands right now, if Lake City does get the 3 seed, they're still on opposite sides as well. So, that bodes well if you want to see an all Coeur d'Alene final. That could be pretty awesome, and it's possible the way Lake City plays basketball too. So, it's going to be a good tournament. I mean, Boise, obviously, they're 20-2. They're looking pretty strong as well. If they're able to, continue the momentum heading into the postseason, but Coeur d'Alene just looks so stinking good, and it's hard to pick against the Vikes right now.
Yeah, and I go back to Boise has lost twice this year. One of those losses came to Lake City. So I mean, I don't know. If Post Falls were to win this game against Lake City and they were to advance to state, then you're looking at Post Falls being the number 6 seed possibly overall. They could also be higher than that depending on. Again, if Thunder Ridge were not to make it to state, Post Falls could then slot up to number 5. But either way, Post Falls, if they do make it, going to be, in the lower end of the seedings there for the Trojans. But this game Thursday night should be pretty interesting. I think I will lean Lake City just because they did win the 2 regular season matchups. But it's hard to beat the same team 3 times in one season. So.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stay with the T-Wolves. I just think that lineup's got too much depth. I really do, because they can get points from all over the floor, and that's no slight to Capri Sims, who scored her 1,000th point this last week too. So congrats to her. But I don't know if Post Falls has the firepower with Waddington and Zufelt and everybody else in that Lake City lineup. There's a lot there that, Pickford's there too. So, that's a pretty deadly lineup.
Yeah, should be a fun game though. That's Thursday night at Lake City. All right, let's move to the 4A Inland Empire League. We had the play-in game on Monday night. Moscow had to travel to Lakeland. Hawks win by 12, 53-41. And that now sets up the best of 3 game series. Lakeland at Sandpoint. Game 1 is tonight. We are recording this on Wednesday, February 8th. The first game is tonight. And then they would play Friday night. And then if necessary, if we had to go to that third game, it would be on Saturday. And all these games are at 6 p.m. In Sandpoint. What do we think here? I still think the Bulldogs are the team that it should be favored. But Lakeland has been playing better as we've gotten to the end of the season.
Lakeland's been able to push Sandpoint's buttons. I mean, we saw Sandpoint win, obviously, the last time they faced each other on the walk-off free throw. Lakeland's playing better down the stretch, and, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they sneak a game. This could go to that if necessary game, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did. But Sandpoint, if you look at on paper, and obviously game's not played on paper, but just looking at the lineup and what they've got as far as talent goes, the Bulldogs in my mind have the upper hand. But the Hawks are playing well, and Coach Derek's got that team moving in the right direction. They play really hard for him. We talked about him last week too, but yeah.
Yes, we did. Sandpoint, if they were to win and get to state, right now they would be the 3 seed overall at state. Shelley and Blackfoot are the top 2 seeds. They're playing in their district championship tomorrow night. The loser of that game would then have to win to get the second bid to state. If for some reason Shelley and or Blackfoot didn't advance, Sandpoint could move up to the 2 seed. But again, 2 versus 3, kind of all semantics there. If Lakeland were to get in, you're looking at the Hawks being the 5, 6 seed. Lakeland would be the 6 seed with potential to move up to 5, possibly, if somebody were to get upset along the way. So that's where we're at with 4A girls basketball. So interesting. Okay. 3A. Did you have anything else you wanted to
No, we're
say
good.
about?
I was gonna say 3A is pretty much, yeah, I don't want to say academic, but like you only have two teams, so pick one. But yeah.
Yeah, so kind of the same deal. We talked about Sandpoint, Lakeland have this best of 3 series. So does Timberlake and Bonners Ferry. The first game was Monday night. Timberlake won 50-24. They play again tonight in Spirit Lake. If Timberlake wins that, they are moving on to State Ryan, where they would be the number 2 overall seed.
Yeah, and I think that'll happen. I really do. I like the Tigers a lot. I think they're a tough matchup for anybody. I mean, Snake River's got a good team, though. No slight to them, and Parma as well down south. There's some good teams down south, but Timberlake is a really dangerous team. And they, like I said, they took Coeur d'Alene, the number 1 overall at 5A. I mean, they took them to the wire in a head-to-head matchup, and that just shows the talent that's there at the 3A level with Timberlake.
Yeah, Timberlake is so good year in, year out. And Bonners Ferry is also not bad. They just happen to be in the same league as this juggernaut that's Timberlake.
Yeah, Timberlake would have, they split with Sandpoint at the 4A team. But overall, they would have tied for the league championship if they were a 4A team. Timberlake and Sandpoint are right there neck and neck. So,
yeah, look at this resume. Wins over Lakeland, a 4A. West Valley, a bigger Spokane.
It would be a Washington. Yeah, it'd be like an Idaho 4A team. Yeah.
Yeah. Lakeland went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-0 against the state of Washington this year.
Oh, Timberlake? Yeah. Timberlake. Yeah. They boat raced people. It wasn't even close.
It's some bigger schools, like we said, West Valley, Liberty, pretty impressive teams. They beat Lewiston. They beat a 5A this year. They beat Lewiston 54-43. They split with Sandpoint, as you mentioned. They swept Lakeland. They won both matchups with Lakeland. So, yeah, this team is legit for sure. Not as much height as we're used to seeing. Timberlake has had over the past couple of years. They do have a 6'1" sophomore, though, in Diana Nelson, who they can lean on. But this is more of a guard-led team with Malia Miller and Jenna Chase and Sierra Sumis. And there's just a lot of good guards.
So I'm trying to get some sunlight in here. There was actually sun outside. I don't want it to look like I'm working in a dungeon.
Yeah, you don't want it to look like me, where it's all dark for sure. But so, yeah, Timberlake can win the district tonight. And then they would be the 2-seeded state in 3A. All right, 2A, Central Idaho League. We had the play-in game on Saturday. St. Mary's beat Priest River 45-26. And now we've got this nice, tidy little 4-team bracket here. Opening round games were on Monday night. Both the top seeds won. Grangeville had an easy time with St. Mary's 57-26. Kellogg beat Orofino in the 2-3 matchup by 8, 37-29. That sets up tonight. St. Mary's at Orofino in a loser-out game, and Kellogg at Grangeville in the district championship. We like the Bulldogs here, right?
Yeah, I like Grangeville, especially playing at home. Kellogg can make things interesting, obviously, in a play-in game. I think that there's certainly some noise that still could be made from the Cats, but yeah, I like Grangeville in this one. I think that there's just too much going on with that lineup and that the way they just reload year after year. But I think the big one in my mind is coaching. I think goes to the advantage of the Bulldogs tonight, and Grangeville I think clinches that state berth this evening.
Yeah, Grangeville 6-0 in the league this year. Nobody really ever came close. The times they played Kellogg this year, they won 54-37, and then they won the rematch 51-25. So that I think kind of speaks for itself. And again, we talked about a young team, only one senior on this Grangeville squad. So, this is Coach Barger doing a fantastic job in Grangeville with this group of girls. So then you start to ask, okay, Kellogg and Orofino for maybe that second spot. St. Mary's could. They have a tall order, I think. In the regular season, when Kellogg played Orofino, they won by a score. They won the first matchup 42-30, and then they lost the second matchup, the rematch in Orofino, 43-40. I think Orofino has a chance, maybe.
I would give that. They played obviously like a day ago.
Right.
So we saw what happened there, but fourth time's a charm maybe for Orofino. I don't know. Like, I mean, if they split 2-2, it wouldn't surprise me. And Orofino gets the bid. Both those teams, I think, are balanced enough to, maybe make some noise in a play-in game. I'm looking at your bracketology list right now on who they would play in a play-in matchup, and
so it's right here on the bracket, right here, Ambrose.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not looking at I was looking at the different page, so I don't have our screen maximized. That's my fault.
Oh, yeah, you didn't listen to that tip I gave at the beginning of the show. All right. Yes, so Ambrose is the third place team from District 3. I was trying to look to see if there were any common opponents this year between Kellogg, Orofino, and Ambrose, and it just doesn't look like it. So this is a total guessing game on how this would go. Ambrose, I think, overshadowed a little bit because they're in the same district as Melba and Coal Valley Christian. But I think you flip a coin. I think the North could get two teams to state. Could just be Grangeville too, but either way.
I mean, if one of those teams does make it, it doesn't surprise me. I think if they miss it, doesn't. It's like you said, a coin flip. And are we looking at the play-in winner to challenge for a state title in this year's bracket? No. I mean Melba's pretty dang good.
in 2A hoops, man, it is Melba's deal for sure. So if Grangeville were to win and get in, they would be the 6th seed, and they're pretty much locked into that because all of the teams above them are pretty much get auto bids. So Grangeville would be 6th. If Kellogg were to make it, they would be probably 6th or 7th, I think.
I think they would be 7th or 8th. They're not going to pass Grangeville, obviously. So
no, so they're the one team that's below Kellogg is Declo, and Declo did just win their district. They're the District 4 champions. So Kellogg would be 7th.
Okay.
And then if Orofino were to get there, they're just behind Declo. So Orofino would be 8.
Okay.
There. So a lot of interesting things going on in 2A hoops. Let's move to 1A District 1. This is the Scenic Idaho Conference. Ryan, last night at North Idaho College, Wallace beats Genesis Prep 55-26. And now here comes this really interesting district championship game tomorrow night, Thursday night at North Idaho College. Wallace and Lakeside. They split in the regular. We talked about this last week. They split in the regular season, and each team won by a pretty hefty margin. So, what do you make of this third and final battle?
If Javier Gore is on, Lakeside wins by I don't want to say $1 billion, but I like Lakeside winning. If Javier Gore has a good night, if she struggles, it wouldn't surprise me if Wallace sneaks out and gets the district championship. I think no matter what, it's going to be a great game tomorrow night. So
yeah, I think
there's a lot of storylines kind of paralleling each other at the same time in that game.
Yes, there certainly are. And this, of course, famously went to the coin flip, right? Wallace and Lakeside tied for the district championship. They did the coin flip. Lakeside won it, so they are the 1 seed. I'll just to be opposite of you, I'll take Wallace. Wallace is the defending district champion. I got to see Wallace play at state last year. They defend pretty well. They do a pretty good job in man defense, especially. And they've got pretty good rebounding abilities as a team. There's not that one player that you point at and go, yeah, that's the go-to player like Jaden House was last year.
Yeah, as I said, I don't know if they have the size down low that they had last year, like being able to control the block. But yeah, Jaden House was a force.
Yeah, she was a great 3-point shooter as well, and brought it all to the table. But Wallace does rebound well as a team, so I'll go Wallace. And either way, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's
good for North Idaho basketball. The more competition we've got in these league championship games coming down to the wire like this, I mean, it makes for high drama, which we like as we enter the state tournament. I think it adds storylines to the picture and makes next week more interesting, especially as from the broadcaster standpoint. So yeah,
definitely. Talking about if we get to state, Wallace, if they won, would be the 8 seed, and Lakeside would be 7, maybe 6. There's a lot of movement fluidity there, but either way, league champ will be in the bottom half of the seeds at Max Preps. Let's go to the White Pine League, where there's to me there's less drama because Lapway is so freaking good. Look at these semifinals. Lapway beats Potlatch 75-17 in the semifinal Saturday, and then Potlatch never really recovered from that because Monday night. Shouts to the Troy Trojans, the 7 seed. They knock out Potlatch, the 4 seed, in the loser out game, Ryan.
Imagine getting beat so bad that you just can't recover, and then you get just absolutely stunned in a loser out game. That just stinks, man. But good job for Troy. I mean, to show up and take care of business. I mean, you're just reeling from a drubbing 75-17, and then end up not necessarily. And it's not like it was close. Troy took it to him and got that win. So hats off to the Trojans there. And, they got a tough draw with Kamei, that game coming up tonight, but a little bit more drama, I think. I mean, with Kamei and Prairie, that was a close game. I mean, 6-point ball game. I don't, if it ends up back in that situation, I don't know if Kamei finally gets them or not. I don't think they have the firepower to find themselves there, but Lapway is just, they're buzzsaw. They're a team on a mission, and there's I want to say like no shortage of talent. Let's put it that way. It's pretty vast 1 versus 2 in the rest of the state.
Yeah. So talking about Potlatch and just never recovering, I think that's the Lapway effect. That's I don't know. That happens to a lot of teams, that hangover from playing Lapway.
I'm going to go back and look at their season and their common opponent or their opponent and look at their opponent's next game after playing Lapway.
Yeah.
I bet the records aren't great.
Right. So congrats to Troy. They played their absolute best game of the year, and can they keep it going? We'll find out tonight. It's a doubleheader at Lewiston High.
Did you look at Troy's previous game? I mean, that's it's Troy versus Clearwater Valley, and then they come back and get another big win against Potlatch back-to-back nights. That's huge.
What a journey. What a progression for Troy, right? They start here playing Prairie in the first round and losing by 50, 64-14. Then they start climbing the hill. They barely escape Clearwater Valley in a loser out game, 40-39. And then they go out and win by 17 over Potlatch. Buy stock in the Troy Trojans.
If you're coach next year, you're looking at that, you're like, all right, we can work with this. Like, this is something we can build off of for sure. And especially if they get a huge win tonight over Kamei. I mean, come on. Like, you might as well have won the state championship if you're that team.
That would be the story of district tournament action, I think, if Troy continued this great run. And we're kind of laughing about it, but it's exciting to see this. And that's what makes the postseason so great, is you never know which team is going to emerge. And,
for sure.
Way to go, Troy. And we'll see if they can keep it up tonight. Doubleheader at Lewiston, the 3rd and 4th place game. Basically, it's Kamei and Troy. And then in the championship tonight, 7:30, Lapway and Prairie. Lapway, if they got to state, they'd be the number 1 overall seed. If Prairie got to state, they'd be the number 2 overall seed. If Kamei got to state, they would be the 5th seed with potential to move up to the 4. So that's,
you know what this is? I think everybody knows what this is, right? It's a Sharpie.
A Sharpie, yeah.
That's what you can put Lapway in for the state championship with right now. I'm telling you. Book it.
You know it's a good show when Scaggs is using props.
Hey, guess what? This is going to make another appearance later in the episode too.
Yeah. You're going to be kind of like, you remember the old college basketball commentator for ESPN, Digger Phelps?
Yeah.
And
Digger.
He always had the highlighter in his hand, and he would match his tie. The color of his tie would match the color of his highlighter. That's next level.
I never put that together until now. Now I realize, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yep. Good old Digger. So anyways, let's get back on track. We've gone off course like we do so often on this show.
We haven't talked about action movies in a while, so we're still good.
That's true. Okay, so
Anyways, go ahead. Moving on.
I was going to say something about Violent Night, but I decided
I was
not
going to say something about a bear, but yeah, we'll refrain from that one.
we'll save that. Okay, let's go to 1A D2. So some bad news up in the North Star League, District 1. Kootenai, the 3 seed, just still struggling with overall numbers, right? And they just had too many injuries / players not available, and they just kind of had to fold. And so basically Clark Fork and Mullen both got buys, and so now they're playing in the district championship game tonight at North Idaho
I think
College.
it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Or Thursday night at North Idaho College. So this is a doubleheader. You'll have Clark Fork and Mullen at 5:30 for the 1A D2 championship, and then that Wallace Lakeside game we talked about earlier at 7. What do we think of this matchup here? I'm kind of leaning Clark Fork. I'm kind of leaning the Wampus Cats here, but
I'm leaning Mullen. I think I did last week too. And I'm going to stick with my gut on this one. I know that they're pretty even. It's just, it's the Tigers' year. I mean, I'll just go with that. I'll take them and punch their ticket to state. They've got a winning record right now too. They're above 500. I'll give them the edge, but I mean, I think it doesn't get any more even than the 2 games we'll have tonight or tomorrow night at NIC. That's 2 very, very evenly matched district championship games that, you get like dessert and the main course dessert first, maybe the main course afterwards. I don't know how you want to label that one, but I think both games are going to be phenomenal. And yeah, so I mean, it's a pick'em. It's another pick'em game. I really don't know which way to go. I'm going to lean Mullen.
And just like the Lakeside Wallace matchup, they split in the regular season. Clark Fork won the first matchup by 20, 37-17. And then in the rematch, Mullen got the win by 5, 26-21. So we'll see. It's going to be really that doubleheader at NIC is going to be really interesting to watch for sure. Okay, and let's finish up with here's my big list of all the brackets. You're getting behind the scenes of how we do these brackets on IdahoSports.com. Okay, White Pine League 1A D2. You've got Kendrick, Deary in the championship Thursday night at Lapway. What else is new? Kendrick beats St. John Bosco 50-18 in the first round Monday. Deary got past Nez Perce in kind of a tight game, 41-33. Nez Perce and SJB will now play in the 3rd and 4th place game Thursday night, 6:00, and then it'll be the district championship. One note about St. John Bosco, you'll see over here this first round game. They were the 4 seed. Highland was the 5 seed. St. John Bosco has not had a gym this year at all. So I don't know where they've been playing their games. They didn't play all road games. I know that. But they, despite being the higher seed, had to travel to Craigmont to play Highland in that 4 versus 5 game last Friday night.
Yeah.
Took care of business.
Well, and I believe that was due to a boys basketball game at Prairie, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe I'm wrong there. But anyways,
Could be. Definitely.
Yeah, no, Deary and Kendrick, I think another great matchup. We saw them play each other just like a week ago. And Kendrick won a tight one in that one. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe Kendrick won the second one, but lost the first. I'm trying to remember how the split went this year, but
I think it was reversed.
Or the other way around. Deary won the revenge game. Anyways, it's going to be a good game. I mean, both these teams are definitely teams to be, I think, looking at possible favorites. I think if you get Kendrick as the 3 seed at state against, say, like a Rockland, that's a great semifinal matchup. And Deary, I mean, could get Mackey, which I think could be another interesting matchup as well. But it wouldn't surprise me to see a all White Pine League final. I mean, just like you could see it 1A D1, I think you could easily see it at 1A D2.
Yeah, so Kendrick won the first matchup over Deary.
That's what it was.
By a score of, the final was 47-28, and then Deary got him in the rematch by 6, 44-38. Do we give Nez Perce a shot at? I mean, they did just lose to Deary by only 8. What do we
No,
think?
I don't look at Nez Perce as a threat here. And if I'm proven wrong, congrats and like celebrate that upset and that you like silence the critics or whatever. But I just look at Deary. The Mustangs are tough. That lineup's good. They got some youth there still too, but they're just playing well. And Kendrick, we obviously know that lineup's really good too, and what they've been able to do the last few years as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great game tonight in Lapway or tomorrow night in Lapway, I should say, and be interesting to see how things go. Wouldn't surprise me to see an overtime game in a championship. Wouldn't shock me one bit.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. And then we were kind of on last week's show, Ryan. We were kind of lamenting the fact that when we recorded last week, the top 3 seeds were Rockland 1, Deary 2, Kendrick 3, and we were like, oh man, Deary and Kendrick are on the same side of the bracket. They had to play each other in the first round at state last year. Like, can we just get these two on a course where they would meet in the championship? Well, I'm pleased to tell you that in the week since we recorded that episode, Rockland didn't have any more regular season games, so they couldn't move whatsoever. But because of one of Deary's opponents, I don't even think it was Deary, I think it was one of their opponents, got a win somewhere, because up north they're always playing regular season
I think
games.
it was, or not, I think it was Cammy. I got a win. But
yeah, it was enough to move Deary now into the number 1 overall seed. If Deary gets to state, Deary would be 1, Rockland would be 2, Kendrick would be 3. We got our wish. Deary and Kendrick on opposite sides of the bracket potentially.
I like it. And I mean, what a great semifinal 1A D2 could be. Holy cow. I mean, Deary, Mackey, Kendrick, and Rockland, if he goes chalk, that could be insane. I mean, and they certainly don't want to throw like Dietrich and Council are certainly like worthy adversaries as well. So yeah, that could be a very interesting state tournament. I think probably, with the exception of maybe 4A, one of the more balanced, I think, tournaments that we could have.
Yeah, that to me is the one that's pretty wide open for sure. So yeah, we'll stay tuned to Kendrick and Deary and see how they do there. Talking about girls basketball and districts and all that good stuff, let's go ahead and unveil your North Idaho 9, your rankings for the top girls basketball teams, regardless of classification. Take it away.
Yeah, number 1, no surprise, the Vikings. Coeur d'Alene, they're rolling. Lake City 2, Lapway 3. 4, I just like Timberlake and the way they're playing right now. I mean, it's hard to not put them in that top 5, position. Sandpoint, I have them slotted at 5th. And I know that we're kind of looking at like, well, what about head-to-head with Post Falls? Head-to-heads be darned right now. I think the Bulldogs are playing good basketball. Post Falls has got to show something tonight. Like they're struggling a little bit. They've got a huge game in a loser out game. The season could be over against Lake City tonight. And then you kind of round that one out with, Post Falls being at 6. You're like, what in the world's going on? 7. You have Kendrick. We just talked about them. 8 Prairie, 9 Deary. I think all 3 of those last week we had slotted at the same, like they're all ranked 7.
Coward.
Yeah. You could do it again, but I didn't, and I could take some heat. Deary's like, how does Deary have 1 loss and they're in 9th? But I'm like, well, go look at what Prairie's done too. They're not bad either. So I think all 3 of those are kind of the same team, but with just different colors. But anyways, that's my top 9.
It's a good 9, man. It is. It's a really.
It really is. I mean, statewide, that's tough. Like that's a tough lineup.
Yeah.
Especially 1 through 4 is. Oof. That's a good group of 4 teams right there.
Yeah, we talk about championship potential, right? Coeur d'Alene will be the number 1 seed at 5A. 4A is wide open. Sandpoint could go down there and easily compete for a title. Timberlake is kind of the same. I think 3A is fairly open. 2A we kind of think is probably settled. 1A D1 is Lapways, and 1A D2 is pretty open. So you're talking about like 5 of the 6 could come from the north in theory.
In theory, very well could. Absolutely.
Oh man, we would have to bring you on to all of the other regional prepcasts that we.
I would walk in like I do the strut like Conor McGregor, the swagger.
Oh man, yeah, that would be a sight to behold for sure.
Put me next to Sean Kane.
Yeah, right.
Feel like the old school, like Skip Bayless and Woody Page used to go at it.
Oh man, that'd be good stuff. I'm here for it. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk boys hoops real quick. Lake City played last night against Lewiston, and Bengals kind of held tough for 2.5 quarters, really towards the tail end of the third, and then like a lion that plays with its dinner before devouring it, Lake City said, "All right, that's enough," and Timberwolves ended up getting a pretty big win.
Yeah, I think they closed the game on like a 29-6 run or something like that, and that was all she wrote. But yeah, Lewiston, I mean, hung tough. They really did. They can make things interesting with Coeur d'Alene in the district tournament. I still think that the Bengals are a dangerous team, at least to maybe steal a second bid. But it's Lake City's time. I mean, I just look at that lineup and it's just so stinking deep and so good. And they haven't had a slip up like that we've seen, last year or the year before. They've been so consistent, and it's definitely, a senior heavy team too. So there's a lot on the line, I know, for that group of seniors, and they're ripping and raring to go for a title.
And I just know after what happened last year, their focus is going to be so laser sharp that I don't see anyone that's going to stand in their way. Like maybe Owyhee got better, but we saw Lake City play Owyhee, and
it wasn't close on the floor. There was a stark difference between those two teams.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it this year. So
yeah,
congratulations to Lake City for picking up a pretty impressive win. Was there anything Lapway related to talk about? Case Wynot had another double-double, triple-double.
Yeah, he had like another triple-double, I think, or he had a crazy double-double that was like,
yes.
Did he have like 52 points or something like that the other night? I mean, it was ridiculous. But
yeah,
the one thing I will say, Bonners Ferry, I'm looking at that team right now. If I'm in 3A, I want nothing to do with that team. They are locked and loaded, and they are playing best basketball outside of Lake City and Lapway. They're playing the best basketball of anybody in North Idaho. And that's not even close.
Bonners Ferry, fun fact, Bonners Ferry was the very first boys basketball team to tip off this year. They played North Idaho Christian, and they won. I think it was like 111 to like 48.
Yeah, no, it wasn't close.
It kind of set the tone for the season.
And you look at that team, and there's so much of that coming back, too. There's still like some of the pieces are young, but there's so much talent. Asher Williams is a insanely good player, and it's a very fun team to watch. They're well coached too, but they're just disciplined. And I look at them, and I mean, there's no reason you should not look at them and think legit state championship contender.
Yeah, when you look at this Bonners Ferry roster, obviously Ridge Williams and David Hammonds are great seniors. Braden Blackmore, fantastic senior. There's 4 seniors on this Bonners Ferry.
So many guys. I mean, like so many of those kids get time off the bench too. So I mean, yeah. But also they've been getting time because they've been blowing people out, so that helps too. But yeah,
that's how you build the program for sure. There's actually 5 seniors: Ridge Williams, Charles Hensley, David Hammonds, Porter Schulte, and Braden Blackmore. But they've got some good younger. The Batemans would both be back next year. Asher Williams.
Yep.
There's
some of that core will be back. They're going to reload. I mean, they're going to be ready for another run, but I'm excited to see how this one finishes too.
Yeah. Badgers are 16-1 on the season. Pretty phenomenal stuff. And we talked about, of course, in 2A basketball, St. Mary's still without Grayson Sands. They've taken it on the chin a couple of times. They lost that game with Lake City that was thrown on the schedule. And then they lost to Bonners Ferry by 10. And again, that was without Grayson Sands. So they have to feel pretty encouraged there. And now here comes their big defining stretch here over the next week. They'll play Orofino Friday night. They win that. They're pretty much locked into the top 2. They're going to host Kendrick on Saturday. That will be a very good challenge, even though Kendrick's a 1A D2. And then they will host Kellogg on Tuesday in a game that could possibly force a split for the regular season conference title. So,
Kellogg a top 5 team in the state in the latest poll, and the Tigers or the Wildcats, sorry, are rolling. And I just look at that league. We talked about Orofino early, and they've kind of faded down the stretch, and St. Mary's just holding on by the skin of their teeth without, having one of their best players out of the lineup. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Coach Chase does such a great job coaching that crew up, and they got a tough win the other night. I believe last night they beat Priest River in a pretty tight game.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what can happen with St. Mary's if they're still able to find their way into the state tournament, but they're going to have to go the hard way. They really will.
Yes, it's going to be the difficult road for sure. All right, let's take a look at your North Idaho 9 for boys basketball. Again, regardless of classification, these are the 9 best teams according to Ryan Scaggs. Send all your hate mail to Ryan Scaggs, not me. All right, here we go.
So number 1, Lake City, 2, Lapwai, 3. I got the Badgers, Bonners Ferry. Some people could be like, I don't know what you're doing there. Coeur d'Alene 4, Lewiston 5. Kendrick 6, Lakeside at 7, still hanging in there. I mean, they're still winning games. Kellogg at 8, Kamei at 9, and that rounds up my top 9. I mean, Lakeside, they're ranked number 5 right now. We just haven't seen them play a ton of games. The games they do play, they are drubbing people, and it's not even close. And so the Knights I still have is like my outside favorite to play the state championship game. If they're able to find their way into the tournament, that's a team nobody wants anything to do with. They don't want that smoke. That team is good.
Yes, I will tell you, one of the more underrated players in the state, I think, is Brutus C. John.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Dude can ball.
Yeah. We saw him Lapwai, and it was like you put on a clinic for the first 3 quarters of that game. He was one of the best players on the floor. And that's saying something looking at who was across the other side of the bench, from Lapwai. Cy John was there with everybody else, and that was without Vander Brown on the floor for the majority of that game. You put Vander Brown in a game with that lineup, man, they're brutally tough. They really are.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I would love to see Lapwai Lakeside in a championship again.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that game. That game was fun. That was a fun game. Get that game down in Southern Idaho. Let's make it happen. I think I look at Lakeside. They really are, in my mind, a legit dark horse to make it to the championship game. I don't know if they're going to beat. I said it was going to make another appearance. The Sharpie, it's back. I think it's Lapwai's tournament to win again. I think they're going to sweep on the boys and girls side again this year. But Lakeside can make things interesting. Grace fans can give me some heat. I don't care. Lighthouse Christian. There's a drastic difference between your programs and what Lapwai has. Absolutely. It's something to be seen. That win streak could hit 60 by the end of the year, or 61 or 62 games.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's just craziness.
Longest in the nation, according to Max Preps. So it's pretty impressive for sure. Okay, let's talk district wrestling.
Yeah,
we are getting to the finish line. Scaggs. State wrestling is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We got districts coming up, and there's a whole lot of noise to be made. I think when we look at. I said at the beginning there, I'm like, everybody's like looking at Meridian at 5A. They're going to win the state championship, and I'm like, no. You watch that Post Falls team. They're going to come on down the stretch, and they're going to turn it on and start flexing. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And I think this week, though, I really want to focus on the smaller schools. I think Kellogg, with that lineup, to it, man, that's a dangerous team with a dangerous lineup that can make a ton of noise at the state tournament. You're going to get some big wins from kids. So here's how the state championship, in my mind, goes. It may not be the teams with the most lineup. Obviously, it's going to be the ones that get the championships. But where it's going to be won is on those back end matches where you have other schools that have 4 or 5 kids that are there, but they're knocking off kids from the favorite and then getting them out of the blood rounds. That's where it's going to be made. And I look at Kellogg being able to probably finish, or the podium finish as a team, probably the top 3 is very easily attainable for them. But Priest River's got some guys that are going to find their way to the podium on Saturday at the state tournament as well. Matthias McLean he's a monster. and he's got his hands full though in his weight class. But you look at Bonner's Ferry in 3A, I think is going to make some noise as well. They've got some kids that they'll get a couple state champs possibly out of their lineup. But yeah, wrestling in North Idaho, it's on an upward trend. I think 5A we know is good. It's the smaller schools that are starting to come around. Clearwater Valley is going to get a few placers. Potlatch will get a couple of guys. So there's some kids in the area that are going to definitely have a good showing come postseason time.
Yeah. So 5A, it'll come down to Post Falls Meridian. 4A, it's kind of Minico. 3A, South Fremont Buell, kind of the two favorites, and then 2A to me is the one that's wide open. You've got these powers. You've got these powers that are coming from each district. Ryrie, Malad, you've got Declo, you've got New Plymouth, and then you've got Kellogg. And they're all going to converge. They're all going to bring their numbers because I think they're all going to do really well at their respective district tournaments. And you're right. Whoever can battle through and win those, less than ideal circumstance matches is going to be the team that wins. The 2A championship, as a reminder, last year came down to the final match of the night. It was the heavyweight final. A kid from Ryrie got the win. I think it was by 2 points. Yep. And that gave the Bulldogs the championship. We have a great photo of it where he's basically jumping into the arms of his coach. They're bear hugging each other, and could be a similar finish.
It could be a similar finish. I mean, I really do see that. Those third and fourth place matches, the 5 and 6 matches. That's where the tournament's going to be decided. Then you look at the girls' side. There might be more state champions from the north than from anywhere in the state. It's just the numbers. I mean, you're not going to get a team championship. Let's put it that way. It's just not there with most of these programs. But man, you look at what we've got as far as strength coming out of the north. Whew, it is. I mean, there's some depth on depth as far as the Murderers Row. From lightweight, through the midweights. I mean, you're probably going to get a state champion out of the north in every weight class.
Yeah, be pretty spectacular to see that all unfold. So, yeah, girls state basketball is next week. Then it's state wrestling. Then it's boys state basketball. We're hitting the stretch drive here for winter sports. So next week on the Prepcast, we'll do kind of what we've done in the past. We're going to have our live state girls basketball preview show, and then we will just drop that into the podcast feed for the North Idaho Prepcast. So we won't have a show with me and Ryan next week. It'll just be our statewide girls basketball preview.
Your panel of experts.
Yes, our rotating panel of experts. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be in your North Idaho Prepcast podcast feed, but also you can join us for the live show next week. So you got the week off, Scaggs. Enjoy your time off. Enjoy your holiday.
Valentine's Day. Yeah. Actually going to celebrate it. So anyways, sorry, I had to throw that in there. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it. And it's getting to be that time of year where it's a ton of fun. District wrestling up here up north is going to be bananas with some of the tournaments going on. Because of the auto bids, there's going to be some kids that may not have their way of getting in automatically that, they could win the hard way and find their way in the state tournament. So there's a lot in the line, coming up this next week. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. And then obviously state tournament time for basketball is going to be a ton of fun.
Yes, sprint to the finish for sure. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. And we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.